Welcome to this explainer. Today we're breaking down a literal worst-case scenario, an engine fire before V1 on a Bombardier Q400 aircraft. Now, you already know V1 is the critical speed during takeoff where you are completely committed to flying. So what happens when an engine erupts in flames right before you hit that speed? It's one of the most intense, high-stakes situations a flight crew can possibly face. Let's get right into the exact step-by-step protocol pilots use to maintain control, extinguish the threat, and ultimately save lives.
Picture this. You're hurtling down the runway in a Q400. You're approaching your takeoff decision speed, and suddenly, fire. Every single millisecond counts here. There's absolutely zero room for hesitation, panic, or, freelancing. You and your crew have to operate as a perfectly synchronized unit, relying entirely on your ingrained training to stop a heavy aircraft that's loaded with thousands of tons of highly flammable aviation fuel.
To lock this incredibly dense procedure into your memory, we're going to use a really handy trick. The 4 A's: abort, assess, action, and abandon. Just keep those 4 words in your mind, and they'll act like a map, guiding us chronologically through every step of the chaos.
All right, let's kick things off with Phase 1, the abort. So the very first thing that shatters your normal takeoff roll is this violently flashing red master warning light. And trust me, it doesn't just quietly blink. It's paired with these blaring fire warning tones ringing through the entire cockpit. It's literally designed to be impossible to ignore.
Almost instantly, that sensory overload dials up to an 11. Both the engine fire press to reset light and the check fire det light illuminate simultaneously right in front of you. It's just this massive cascade of visual and auditory alarms confirming your absolute worst fears. And bringing it all together, the pull fuel/hydraulic off handle light is going to glow a bright, urgent red. At this exact moment, whoever spots these indications first, doesn't matter which pilot, has to instantly, without a second of hesitation, state a single word: abort. That one word is the trigger. It kicks off the entire aborted takeoff procedure. The second that word drops, it's all about split-second division of duties. The pilot flying, or PF, gets physical to stop the aircraft. They slam those power levers to disk, smash the maximum braking to hold the center line, and bring the plane to a dead stop before setting the emergency brake. Then, it's straight to the PA to tell the cabin crew at stations, before quickly switching back to VHF. At the exact same time, the pilot monitoring, the PM, is on the radio telling air traffic control they're aborting, telling them to stand by, and, this is absolutely crucial, canceling all those flashing lights so the crew can actually see and think clearly. Which brings us right into Phase 2, assessment. Now the aircraft has violently halted, the dust is settling just a bit, and the crew assesses the problem together. They check the indications and make a definitive verbal confirmation. They call out loudly, "Engine number 1 fire." You have to be completely aligned here. You absolutely cannot afford a catastrophic mistake like shutting down the wrong healthy engine. After that, the PJF formally calls out the next step: engine fire on ground memory item. And that cue transitions us straight into the highly choreographed Phase 3, action.
Here's where the pilot flying has to be flawless. 4 memory steps in exact sequence to start starving the fire of its lifeblood. First up, verify power levers are in the disk position. Second, move the condition levers to fuel off. Third, yank that glowing red fuel/hydraulic handle for engine number 1. And fourth, turn both tank aux pumps off. Every single one of these moves is designed to brutally cut off the fuel and hydraulic fluid that's feeding those flames.
Right on the heels of that shutdown sequence, the PF goes on the offensive. They set the extinguish switch to blast the forward fire extinguisher bottle directly into that burning engine casing.
And now we hit what's probably the most agonizing part of the whole protocol. The PM starts a timer, and you just have to hold your nerve and wait. Exactly 10 seconds. Sitting in a cockpit with a literal fire raging outside your window, 10 seconds feels like an absolute eternity. But you've got to wait to see if the chemical retardant from that first bottle actually knocks down the flames.
If that clock hits 10 and those fire warnings are still glaring at you, you escalate. The PF flips the extinguish switch to discharge the aft or rear bottle into the engine. They flip the dome lights to on, so visibility in the cockpit is maxed out. And the PF verbally confirms memory actions complete. While the PF is dealing with that second bottle, the PM is simultaneously on the mic broadcasting this exact Mayday call to ATC. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Engine number 1 fire. Evacuating on runway. They run through the numbers, say 90 persons on board, 3 tons of fuel on board, confirm no dangerous goods, and request emergency equipment. The split second that transmission wraps, the PM actually leaves the flight deck entirely to go back and help the cabin crew prep for the evacuation.
And that pushes us into our final A. Phase 4. Abandon.
So the PF is now alone in the cockpit, initiating the evacuation memory actions. They double-check the emergency brake is totally locked, verify levers are at disk and fuel off, and pull both fuel/hydraulic handles, numbers 1 and 2, to completely secure the aircraft's systems. Then, super importantly, they flick the emergency lights on so passengers can see the exit paths and turn the seatbelt sign off.
Next, they switch the comms panel over to the passenger address system and deliver the final, ultimate command to the cabin, 3 times loud and clear. Evacuate, evacuate, evacuate. Then, it's a quick reset back to VHF, just to keep a line open with ATC.
But wait, the PF isn't out of the seat just yet. Before abandoning the cockpit to assist the passengers, they have to rip through this final power down sequence. AC external off, DC external off, APU off, and finally, the battery master. Why? Well, think about it. You're about to have 90 people sliding down emergency chutes right next to a highly flammable situation. You absolutely have to kill every single potential electrical spark hazard before you get out of there. Only then do they head back to help.
So we've walked through the 4 A's: abort, assess, action, and abandon. It's a lot to take in, but I want to leave you with this. In the sheer chaos of flashing lights and blaring sirens, what is the single verbal command that instantly initiates this entire life-saving sequence? It all comes down to one word. Knowing that word and knowing exactly the cascade of actions that follows is literally the difference between a catastrophe and everyone walking away. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep those 4 A's locked in your mind for next time.